Maybe it's been a while since you've added fractions. Don't worry. Wherever you're at, just take it for wherever you are. Doesn't matter what age you are. This stuff isn't really memorable, so it's okay if you've forgotten how to do it. So we're going to look at adding fractions. First, we're going to look with the same denominators. This is super easy, so I'm not going to spend much time on it. What you do to add these is you keep these as your denominator. You don't change it, and then you add the top. So you get 1 plus 1 equals 2. This all reduces to 1. This is super easy, right? Then here, same thing. You're going to keep the lowest, the denominator here, and then you're going to add the top. So you're going to get 2/4. Again, that's going to equal 1/2 when it reduces. So this is really easy when they have the same denominators. That's the number in the bottom. D means down, nom means name in Latin. So anyways, that's that. But we're gonna look, maybe your teacher or whatever situation you're in, you're gonna have to deal with some harder numbers, some harder fractions. So here's one method of dealing with two fractions when you have to add them. And so I've kind of summed it up in this formula here. So it's for the denominator, this is the easy part. You just multiply them across. So b times d. So the product of that multiplication becomes your new denominator. Easy. Now the top, we do this kind of cross multiplication pattern. So we take a times d, and then we take that product and add it to the product of c times b. And that becomes the top number. So it's perfect. Then we have to reduce and deal with improper fractions if we have to. And so these examples illustrate it. So for the new denominator, we take 3 times 4, we get 12. And then for the top, we cross multiply these things. So we got 1 times 4, and then we add that to 1 times 3, which is 3. And then we add these two numbers together, and we get 7 over 12. We don't have to reduce it because that's reduced. And so here, we're going to multiply the denominators. We're going to get 6 for the top. We're going to do 1 times 3 plus 1 times 2, which is 2. And overall, we get 5 over 6. So looking at this again, this should make more sense. I color-coded it like a dork. I don't know that is helpful, but it's there. So you can pause this, look at it if you want. Otherwise, I'm just going to burn through this, because a lot of the problem with tutorial videos is people just talk a bunch about other crap, and we want to know how to do things is basically what we're here for. Now, there's a thing your teacher told you about, the lowest common denominator, and that's going to be form our bottom number. So in this instance, the lowest number that these two numbers are both in is 10. So there's no other number that these two numbers are in that it's lower. So how do we get 10 here? So basically you want to match the bottom now. That's a good way of thinking of it maybe. So we have to do 5 times 2, and that gets us 10. But what we do on the bottom, we have to do to the top as well. So we do 5 times 1. Now here, we multiply it not by 5, but we multiply it by 2. Because 5 times 2 equals 10. That's our new number. Because remember how we looked, when you have the same denominator, you can just drag it across. And so this is the same thing. We're making it have the same denominator. And so now we have 5 plus 4. And so we get 9 over 10. And that's our new fraction. And I'm going to choose a new color for the second one. So for this problem, this is really where, because maybe you thought to yourself, wow, I'll just do the cross multiplying method where you do multiply across, you get 10, and then you do 5 plus 4 and you get 9, and it certainly would be easier. Now for a problem with 3 terms like this, it gets a little bit more difficult. So what we want to do for this is find the lowest common denominator. And for this problem, it's going to be 20. And how do we get these two denominators to match that? Well, we need to multiply this by 4, and then obviously do the top by 4 as well. This we have to multiply by 5, do the top by 5, and then drag everything across. So we're going to keep that 20 there, and now we're going to add 4 times 6, which is 24. Then we're going to add that to 5 times 5, which is 25. And then we're going to add that to, oh, you know what, maybe we can look at it like this too. So this guy doesn't feel left out. Basically, we're just multiplying 1 to both of those numbers because they don't need to change. And so we're going to add that to 22, and 24 plus 25 plus 22 is 71. 71 over 20. And that is an improper fraction. So it's not proper. And so how do we deal with improper fractions is like this. Okay. It's basically just division. So here's an improper fraction, 19 over 3. So what do? We take 3 and divide it into 19. So we say, how many times does 3 go into 19? And so we say, well, it goes in 6 times as a whole, and that's 18, and we have 1 as a remainder. So the cool thing with this is that we have the mixed number. It's all the components are here. So you just have to know which part makes which. So this 6, which is on top of everything, becomes your new number. So that's the important part, I guess, whatever. And then the new fraction is 1 over 3. So let's look at a second example. So 5, how many times does that go into 36? Well, it goes in 7 times whole, which is 35, 1 remaining. And so 7, which is on top, is going to be our new number, and 1/5 is our new fraction. And if you notice, which I've highlighted or underlined in blue, the denominator in this mini little fraction is the same as the improper fraction. So 5 here, 3 there, and 3 there. So it's helpful to notice patterns like that. So this is how you deal with improper fractions to mix numbers. Some teachers want it that way. I don't know why. And then at last we're going to do some practice problems. Again, this is not an exhaustive list. The best way to learn these concepts is to practice them. And so this is a mini practice, and I'll go over the answers, which is convenient. But I encourage you to practice it online as well. So you can pause the video. If not, then let's roll out. What color do I want? Okay. So how are we going to deal with this ominous fraction addition? Well, there's 2 ways we can do it. I'm going to do the across way. So we multiply across this way, and our new denominator is 8. And then we're going to do the cross multiplying thing. So it's 1 times 4 plus 1 times 2, which is 6 over 8. And we can't leave it like that, because it's not reduced. So we can take a 2 out of both of these and get 3 over 4. Cool. Awesome. Great. Love fractions. Okay. This one, easy. Denominator's 5. And then we're just adding across, which is 4 over 5. Now for this one, we have to find a lowest common denominator. So for this one, it's going to be 42 is what I see. And again, as long as you get a number, you're good. You can kind of reduce down. So maybe 42 isn't the lowest common denominator, but it certainly is a common denominator in that all of these numbers can go, you can divide 42 by all these numbers. So that's our new one. But how do we get to 42? So we do 7 times 6 here, and of course we have to do it to the top. And then here we do 6 times 7, do that to the top. And then here we got 21 and 21. So now it's going to be 7 times 5 is 35, plus 6 times 2 is 12, plus 1 times 21 is 21. And so we're going to get 35 plus 12 plus 21. Of course, I'm using my little phone calculator. 68 over 42. And then this, we can't leave it like this because it's obvious that you can take at least a 2 from it. And so we do that. That should be, what is that, 34 over 21. So yeah, I use a calculator. Big deal, okay? Now, this next one, what we're going to want to do is, again, find the lowest common denominator. And so in this case, it's going to be, looks like 12. Yeah, 12. And so how do we get 12 here? We have to multiply 4 on the top, 4 on the bottom, 6 on the bottom, 6 on the top, and then 3 here, and 3 here. Now that's how we get our 12. So we're going to have to do 8 plus 6 plus 9, which gives us 23 over 12. Okay, so this is, I secretly want to double check that though, because honestly I'm not the greatest at adding numbers in my head, but that's okay. Maybe I should cut out this whole last part, because now you're going to be wondering, what is it that you do? Why am I watching this?